It's too late, Mr. Obama. Your speech against Israel is too late. It's too late for you to recoup your presidency. And it's too late to attack the Jewish people in front of 1.5 billion Muslims. They don't believe you anyway. And what are you going to do? You're going to try to force somebody to do something they don't want to do? Can you be told what to do when you don't want to do it? Of course not. Something that's distasteful to you, you will not do. Why should Israel be agreeing to give up its holiest sites? It's distasteful to all of them, to most of them certainly. You can't force them to do so. And let me tell you something else. The Bible, which you supposedly believe in, states clearly in the beginning of Genesis, one chapter after another, how God gave the Holy Land to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and to Jacob. And Jacob's descendants are clearly the Jewish people. Yes, there are 10 lost tribes, but they're not the Palestinians. They're not the Jordanians or the Lebanese or the Syrians. These are people of Israel, not people who come from Yishmael and pray and worship to another God. And my dear President, this week's Torah portion is called Parshas Vayishlach. Vayishlach means, Vayetze. Vayetze means, and he went out. Who is he? It's Jacob. Jacob went away from his father in order to marry and to create a people which later became the people of Israel. The story of Jacob is a paradigm for all of the people of Israel. How so? I shall explain to my friends out there and to you, Mr. Obama. Jacob spent 22 years in exile. Exactly 22 years. He also spent an additional 14 years studying in the house of Shem and Eber, studying the Torah, the law of God, as was known up until that time. And only after he studied the law of God was he able to then gird himself for 22 years of bitter exile. Since Jacob is the paradigm of all the Jewish people, when I left the comforts of my home in Boston to go to a place which was different, not a city, a suburb, where there was very little Jewish life, I saw myself as Jacob and wanted to understand the secret of Jacob's movements, his wanderings. And I realized that Jacob had wandered for 22 years away from his beloved household, but spent 14 years in the halls of Torah. I postulated that the 22 years of Jacob's exile and the 14 years of Jacob's learning Torah corresponded to 3,600 years of Jewish history. And to my shock and amusement and happiness, I realized just how accurate this was. Jacob, according to the Seder Olam, according to the historical marker, was born in the year 2108 after creation, according to the counting of the rabbis. 3,600 years later, the state of Israel was established in the year 5708. You can add it. 2108 and 3,600 years equal 5708. That's when the state of Israel was established. Now let me go one step further. Jacob was 130 years when he entered Egypt. 130. When we left Egypt, we were in the desert for 40 years. And then we established the first Commonwealth for a total of 850 years. 850 and 130 is 980. According to the rabbis, the second Commonwealth was only 420 years. Together, they make exactly 980 plus 420, 1,400 years, in which time we were masters of the land of Israel. And for 2,200 of those 3,600 years, we were in exile. However, let me tell you something, Mr. President. The 2,200 years of exile are over. We have returned to our holy land. And it's just a question of time how great Israel will become. And you, Mr. President, instead of helping Israel, are trying to hurt Israel. You remind me of the Nazis. I know you're not a Nazi, but you remind me of them. When they lost the war and everything was lost, they took pleasure in killing Jews. Somehow or other, the killing of Jews justified their own suffering. Somehow or other, you take great pleasure in bashing the Jews after you've had an incredible defeat of your program, your policies, your very person. You're a very charismatic person. But it's over. It says in the Torah, the rabbis tell us, when a person is going up, you don't start up with him. But when he's going down, downhill, that's when the person can be thrown right into the gutter. And that's what's happening. By starting up with the people of Israel at a time when Israel is climbing, not going down. Israel is getting stronger. Israel's economy is stronger than ours in America. Israel today is on the verge of becoming energy independent. How about that? They've discovered huge oil fields and gas fields off the coast of Haifa. What does it tell you? It tells you you can't push around Israel anymore. Israel's a power to stay. You can't force them to do what you want. You can only get them to do what they want. So instead, you choose to try to bash them in order to raise your status among the Muslims. It's over, Mr. President. The 2,200 years of exile are over. Israel has emerged not just as a nation, but as a holy people in a holy land. Just go there one time. Soon the majority of Israel will be people who believe in God and worship the God that you pay lip service to. The people of Israel are not intimidated by you. On the contrary, your presidency will depend upon how you treat Israel from now on. Continue the policy of appeasing Arab terrorists at the expense of Israel, and you will guarantee yourself not just infamy, but a loss in 2012 as your predecessor, Jimmy Carter. This is Chaim saying, I told you so, I've warned you. It's up to you now, Mr. President. It's too late otherwise.